Okay, well if you didn't watch last week's video, you missed out because I was doing a giveaway for this dash camera. In retrospect, I probably could have made it a separate video and called it a giveaway and more people would have watched it, but I mean, at least now you know you should probably watch every video because you never know. But I reviewed this dash camera. It's a real solid camera, I think, and I'm not going to be using it on this bike. So I've boxed it back up. I've got names and a helmet. I'm going to draw one out, and that person is going to win this camera. It's like a $180 camera. It's not exactly cheap. Okay, it's nice equipment. So I'm not looking. I've mixed these up. There's something like 30 names in here, maybe a little more than that. And I've got one in my hand. You guys ready? Jim Hamilton. This camera is yours, sir. Jim Hamilton. Thank you for playing, guys. Maybe next time I get something free like this, I'll give it away. I'd like to. Blue Sky Sea did tell me that they're working on a tire pressure sensor that they'd be willing to send to me. So if that ever happens, I'll probably do a giveaway on that anyway, just because. I think it's nice to be able to give something back to people. Let's see, what am I doing today? So when I got this bike, I noticed that right here, there was a power socket mounted, which I already took out, but I want to show you where it was. And I don't think these bikes came with a power socket mounted in here. This thing is spliced into the headlight wires, or the horn wires right here, I think actually. And it didn't work. I tried plugging stuff into it, it didn't work. So I bought another one, and we're gonna install that today. And I'm gonna replace the power socket, put it right here. We're gonna run the wires down just like I did for the dash camera. Only thing is, in addition to that, I also have a USB socket with a voltage gauge on it. And this I would like to put on the other side. So that way I have my voltage gauge, I have USB power, not that I am gonna charge a cell phone, but theoretically I could. Really, I mainly wanted it for the voltage, just so I could keep an eye on my battery power. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty nice, convenient install, but I do have to run out and get a bit that'll drill a hole like this, because I think these things are about an inch, about 1.125 inches. So I gotta go out and get a bit to drill holes for these, but you know, no big deal. Frankly, this installation is gonna go much better than that installation, and that only took me about an hour and a half. So let's go do that. All right, so this little front shroud thing is held on the sides here by two 10mm screws. It's super easy to get off. Once you have the screws out, there's these two holes in the bottom here, and they just slide out of these two little pegs. So once you have them off, you pull this out and up. If you just pull it out like that, you'll probably end up bending one of these, or breaking your plastic shroud, so don't do that. And then do what I do, put the screws back in the holes they came from, and then you won't misplace them. Because of clearance issues behind this, I'm gonna have to drill the other hole probably down here, so they're not gonna be symmetrical. Because this one here has clearance in this little area here, but on the opposite side, it's blocked by all of this. So I need it to be right here, so I have room to, have the wires sticking in here. So I'm gonna drill the hole for the voltage gauge in this location. But to start with, we're gonna do this side. For this little drill thing, I probably could have got a cheaper one. I wanted to get something that probably worked the best. Okay, so this wood here will give me something for that bit to drill into. I'm actually making this hole bigger They're messed up. Well, go slow and take your time, and yours will turn out better than mine. I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it. I don't really care. I don't really care how it looks. So now let's test fit this thing. This is the power socket. Feed these wires through here. It works. Perfect. Sure, a bunch of you are just like, why are you drilling holes in your shit? And it's because I want these gauges. And I really want a voltage gauge, and I really want a USB plug. I don't know. Worst case, I could run my bike and charge a phone while I'm riding. I mean, that's what I'm thinking I could do, you know, like if my phone battery dies or something, I don't know. Just seems like something you should have. And these little things here are extremely cheap online. I'm gonna list them in the description in this video so you can get some for yourself. Now these wires, these are not long enough. So the question is, how do I handle this? Because they need to be lengthened or spliced into the other one. I don't really want to splice them into the other one because that seems like it'd be a waste of a really nice cable. I think I'd be better off cutting them in the middle, splice them, like putting them together, heat shrinking them, the whole bit. Yeah, I'm gonna do that because I don't want that thing failing when I'm out in the field. All right, well, I have wire over here, so I think I'm just gonna use that to extend these. I didn't want to do any wiring on this, but I guess we're gonna have to. So I guess we're gonna have a crash course here in splicing electrical wires. But first, it's time for beer. All right, so what do you need to do this? First, take your wire, figure out how much length you need. Say probably 1.5 feet. Then you're gonna need a wire stripper. You don't need to have a fancy one. This is a cheap one. Point of a wire stripper is to cut wires and to strip the sheath off of it. You can do it with a knife. I've done it with a knife before, but you're gonna end up damaging the wires, and so I don't recommend being so cheap that you don't buy one of these. You're gonna need one for something someday, so buy one. See, this is so cheap it won't even cut the wires. So I'm gonna cut 2 of these to the same length. Next thing you're gonna need is a soldering iron. You don't need a fancy one to make a lot of these things that are expensive, and they come in fancy kits, and they have like heat adjustable knobs and things. You don't really, the average person doesn't need all that unless you're like an electrician and you like this kind of stuff and you do it a lot. I don't think it's necessary. So this is a cheap one. I mean, you could even probably use one of these that came with a wood burning kit and probably do the job. The point is to have a hot tip that'll melt solder. So up here, I've got a roll of solder. It's like a kind of like a metal rod. And when it touches real hot things, it turns to liquid, and then it kind of welds together on your wires. So while I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm gonna snip this in the middle, and then I'm gonna strip the wire. Okay. Next, you want to find the little groove here that most matches your wire gauge, and I like to take off about 1 inch worth. Squeeze very gently, and then pull it off. Oh, that's not quite right. It'll go smaller. This is a really bad wire stripper. I have another one. This one might work better actually. Yep, there we go. So now you can see that wire has been stripped just of its insulation, but we haven't damaged the wires themselves. That's kind of what the point of this tool is. I'm actually stripping off quite a bit, but that's okay. So now we'll strip the ends of our new piece just the same way. It's actually a much thicker wire. I don't think that's a problem though. Take these two, just kind of wrap them up. I'm sure there's lots of ways to splice these together at this point, but this is the way that I like to do it. Just wrap them up. Nothing fancy. At this point, take some heat shrink and slide it over the wire. Heat shrink is the sleeve that goes on top of the connection when you're all done. Now, you just take your solder, hold it over your connection, and you just try to melt it on. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm sure it's gonna be messy. Basically, I think you'd want a nice even coat. Just don't burn the wires themselves. I believe it is possible to torch them. And there you have a relatively solid connection that I'm not going to be worried about. You slide your heat shrink over it. And I'm not sure if other people do it this way. This is the way I do it. You can just rub your soldering iron over that heat shrink. And it'll shrink up just fine. Don't ever use a cigarette lighter because you're going to end up burning the insulation on the wire, probably damaging the wires. This is a nice, pretty easy to control way to do it, and you're already going to have a hot soldering iron next to you anyway, so. Perfect. Now we just got to do the other one. All right, so there you have it. We've just extended that. I've spliced them together using a soldering iron, and I've heat shrinked it properly, and those are strong connections now. So I'm gonna do the other side the same way with this one. I'm gonna use a red wire, which is against every rule in the book. I don't recommend that, but in this case, since it's in the middle, at the battery end, I'm still gonna know which one is the negative, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. Well, I quit working on this yesterday because I didn't really feel like it, so we're gonna pick up on this today. For some reason, these guys are not hanging on very well. There's a little dot in the middle that's supposed to help them snap on, and that little dot was bent out slightly. But I'll be honest, I think I'm gonna drop some solder on that. All right, let's unplug this and get it the fuck out of here. So I'm just gonna screw the shroud back on here, and then I'm gonna figure out how much slack these cables need so that I can turn the handlebars. And then I'm gonna tie them all off real good and connect them to the battery. All right, before I clean that up, let's go take a look and see if this voltage gauge works. And it is on. Let's start the bike up and see what happens. I don't know if I can leave that connected if it's gonna actually just stay on all the time. Seems like an odd design. As soon as the key comes on, it drops down to like 11.3 volts. Drops to 7.2 when I try to start it. All right, so here's what happened. My battery was flat because this bad boy, this dash camera, apparently charges itself, which I was not aware of. Probably because I didn't read the instructions thoroughly enough, but check this out. By the way, Jim, I'm sending you some stickers. Comes on. Because it has an internal battery in it, and it charges up. So when you do connect it to your battery and you turn your bike off, this thing just sucks your battery power. So didn't know that. I don't know, Jim, if that's a deal breaker for you, let me know and I'll just raffle it to somebody else. But really, you could just avoid this issue entirely if you do this right and you just splice it into something in your electrical system by your ignition. So yeah, that happened. But according to my charger over here, it looks like the battery has finished charging, so we are going to try and make it work. I thought that this had a button on it and you could turn the light off. There's another unit that had that option, and apparently I didn't buy that one. But I guess I'm just going to leave it on and we're going to see if it ever ultimately kills my battery. Alright, so let's see if this little tire pump works. Lights up. Let's watch the voltage gauge. 13.8. 12.4, and it bounces back up to over 13. That looks good. So just for the fun of it, let's see if this phone actually charges. I'm not sure if this is even really going to work. Yeah, it says charging. The battery voltage is staying really high too. Oh, that's not bad. I'll have to test this out when I'm riding down the road and see if it actually charges up the phone. That would be nice. There you have it. If you want to wire up some cool power outlets to your XR.